Okay, so now let's talk about user inputs. This will be all the widget that the user can interact with. By example, an icon button or a text field where you enter your email, by example. So we will learn about this, and the first one is the text field widget. So let's go inside the profile page, and we can close all the other tabs, and we can just go inside profile page. Perfect. For this one, we will replace the center widget. We will delete this, and we will write a column widget instead. After this, inside, you will press Ctrl Space to see all the arguments. You will use the children, and inside the list of children, we will write a text field widget. So you can put your comma, save, and this is what we have. So you can enter text, and that's it. So how do we use this information, and how do we modify this to make it look good? So first thing first, we will make it look good. We will say, by example, decoration, and this will take an input decoration. Inside this one, we will use the border, okay? And in the border, you can see that we will need to put some input border, but it's better to use instead the outlined input border, okay? Because you will see why once again, if I put my comma and I save, this is how it looks. So you see it's a little bit better, I think, in my opinion. But if you don't want this one, you can put the input border, the underline input border. This one was the previous one. Anyway, so we'll put the outline input border, and then what you could do is you could put a padding around the column. So refactor, and then wrap with a padding. Okay? So now maybe you can put 20 and save. So this is your text field. But how can you access the data and display it in the screen? So for this, what we will do is we will put a stateful widget. So I will say refactor, and I will say stateful widget. Okay? So we will use the set state inside. We don't need the data anywhere else. So that's fine. So inside the text field, right after, we will put a text widget displaying the information. So how do we display this? First, we will need to create a controller for the text field. So for this, I will go right over the override, and I will say text editing controller. We'll call this one a simple controller, and we will define it as a text editing controller. Don't forget to put your semicolon. And inside your text field, you will put a controller argument, this one, and then you will put your controller inside, the thing we just created. All right, so now we have access to the controller, which can display the text inside, like this. All right, so now when we write the text and we press enter, and then if we restart this hot reload, we see the text inside. Okay, but how can we reload it from the screen directly? So what you can do is you can say you have multiple options, but on one of them is completed, on editing completed. All right, so this will return a function, and inside when it's completed, then what you can say set state, and you can say that the value, or you just can say set state. Set state should work and do the job. So let's try it. I will say restart, and I will go inside profile, and I will write something, and I will press enter. And here you go, you have the thing inside. We have refreshed the screen with the text controller, the text. So it does work. So this is how you create a text field. So that's about it, and I see you next one. Bye. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to create a checkbox. So right after the text, we will create a widget checkbox. Inside this one, we need to put a value, which will be true or false. So we will create one. We will say Boolean is checked is equal to false. Let's put false when we start. And then what we can do is we can replace this for is checked. Great. For the unchanged, you will delete and you will press Ctrl Space, and you will have two options. So we will select the second one, and then what you will say is first the value, what it is. It is a Boolean question mark. So let's say Boolean question mark. It's because it can be null. And then what you will say is you will say we have the value, let's set state, and then inside we'll say is checked is equal to this value. Right, but now we have a problem because this value can be null. So what we'll do is we will replace our Boolean for a nullable Boolean, right? So now this should work. If we press on it, we have a checkbox. That's great. So now let's create another checkbox, but this one will be a list tile. So let's create a checkbox list tile. Great. The value will be the same, so is checked. I will paste it. And the unchanged will be the same. So I will copy the function, this thing, and paste it right there. Great. So it's the same thing, but the list tile can have a title. So the title, you can put a text widget and write click me. All right, so this was your list tile checkbox. But also what you can do with the checkbox is you can put it as a true state. So we will say true state, and then we will say true. This means that it can have 3 values. So let me show you. If we click on it now, oops, we can see that we have some sort of error. I will restart the screen and let's see. I think it is because of the checkbox. I need to put this one also as a true state and say true. All right, so now if we go inside profile and we click on it, we have clicked, we have nothing, and we have unselected. So we have true state. So that's about it for the checkbox. I will put all my commas like this, and I'm ready for the next video. So that's about it. See you in the next one. Bye. Okay, so one thing we need to talk about is the arrow function. Let me show you. You see inside the text field, we have a set state. So what we'll do is we will remove this, and instead we will use the arrow function. So let me show you. Usually we use this one, but this one allows us to put multiple functions inside. But the arrow function will tell us, okay, do only one thing after, and it is this, the set state. So if you want, you could create something like this, and it will do the same thing. Because when you complete and you press enter, you see that we have the screen, the text on the screen. So it does work. So the set state is the only thing that you want. But if you want to print something also, you cannot use this thing. Instead, you will need to come back to what you had previously, and then you can put 2 things inside. The print function, set state has been clicked, or whatever. You get it? And then you put your semicolon, and it will work. So that's the difference between the empty function normal or the arrow function. That's about it, and I see you in the next one. Bye. So let's talk about the switch widget. So it will be pretty much the same thing as the checkbox. We will do it right after the checkbox list style, and we will say switch. So you see, first we need a value. So we'll go up and we'll create a Boolean, but this one will not be nullable, just a Boolean, and we'll call it is switched is equal to false when we start. So let's use this Boolean inside the value. After this, we will change the unchanged, and we'll say control space, and we'll select this one. Okay? After, inside, what we need to do is we need to use a set state, and we need to redefine the value is switch to the new value. And this new value should be a simple Boolean. So it's better to just define the type. Okay, so we should be able to switch this thing, which is really cool. The next thing we will do is put a comma and put a switch list style, like this. And the value will be the same. We'll use the is switch. And for the unchanged, we will copy the entire function. Copy and paste it inside, put your comma, format document, and save. Great. The only thing we need is now a title. So I will copy the one from the checkbox style, and I will paste it inside the switch list style. So now we will write switch me instead. All right, so this is what we created. You will see in the next video, I will show you something pretty cool. I don't want to talk about it right now. I see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, so let's talk about the dot adaptive. This one is pretty cool because it will target the current phone, and it will display the widget in an iOS style or Android style. So right now, this is Android style, but I am using an iPhone. So it could be nice to have the visual of the iPhone. So we will go over the switch list style, and I will say dot adaptive. And if we save, you will see that now the icon is automatically adapted to the current phone, which is an iOS. All right, and you can do this for the switch also, dot adaptive, and you can do this for the checkbox list style and the checkbox. So let's save, and now you can see that all of these are now iOS looking, which is pretty cool. So it's up to you if you want to use the adaptive inside your app. I think it's cool, and I just want to tell you that it's not all the widgets that are able to use the adaptive. It's just a couple of them, and yeah, that's about it. If you don't see the dot adaptive after your widget, it's probably because it doesn't exist. So that's about it. See you in the next one. Bye. The next widget we will talk about is called the slider. And the slider, we will put it right after the switch list style. So don't forget to put your comma. And I will say slider like this. And then the value will be a double. So I will go on the top and I will go and write double. Let's call this one the slider value is equal to, let's put 0.0 when we start. Great. So let's take this information and put it inside the value. Now we need to change this. I will press Control space and the value will do something. Okay, so we will set state and inside we will say that the slider value is now equal to the value that we receive from this function. We can also define the type. We can also say this is a double, just to make it like more visual. And now if we go inside profile, you will see that we can use the slider. And it is currently not using the dot adaptive, so we can use the dot adaptive. And now you see more iOS style. But it's interesting to see the value. So what we'll do is we will print the data, so which would be the value, put the semicolon, and open the terminal. So now you see that when we slide, we go from 0 to 1. But we can also change this. We can change the max to be 100 or 10.0. Let's save. And now you can see that it goes from 0 to 10. But the thing is, we don't have like fixed numbers. What we can do is we can create a divider or division, and we can say that we will have 10 divisions. And if you save, you'll see that now we have only chunks of like numbers, like 10, 6, 5, and stuff like that. So this is how you use and create a slider. That's about it, and I see you in the next video. Bye. The next thing I want to show you is how to create a button out of any widget. So by example, if we display an image, we will be able to make this image clickable. But the thing is, before I'm able to show you this, I need to show you something else, which is a widget that the user can scroll through. So let's start by adding the image. So if you remember, it was using image.asset, and then inside you can put the asset of the image. It was asset/image/background.jpg in my case. So you will need to find the path inside your asset image, and this was your image. All right. So let's put this. But now if I put like 2 or 3, you will see that we have a problem with the height of the screen. We are not able to scroll. So we need to create a widget which allows us to scroll through the page. And this is called the single child scroll view. So let's go over the padding. I will right click and I will say refactor, wrap with a widget, and then you will use the single child scroll view and save. Now your screen is now scrollable, which is really cool. All right, so the next step for us will be to first delete one image, and we need to make this image clickable and do something. By example, when we click on it, maybe to change this value or anything. So I will show you how to do this in the next video. Bye. Okay, so how do we make anything clickable? So for this, you will need to wrap, by example, an image asset. I will right click and will say refactor, and I will say wrap with a widget. The widget I will use will be the gesture detector. All right, you will put your comma also at the end, save. So now you see better. Now this is clickable. Let me show you. Inside the arguments, you have something called the onTap. So this will trigger a function, which you can use this one. And what we'll do is we'll say print, and we'll say image selected or anything. Put your semicolon, save, And now let's open the terminal, Control G, like this, and use the debug console. And now when I click on it, you can see image selected. So every time I click, I have another count. Great. So this is how you make anything clickable. But I want to show you another way to do it. And the other way will also allow you to make it look different. So I will show you everything in the next video. That's about it. See you in the next one. Bye. Okay, so there is another way to make anything clickable, and it's with the Inkwell widget. And I need to show you both ways because there is a little difference between both of them. First thing first, we need to replace the image asset with a container. So I will be able to show you what is the difference. The height of the container, let's put 200, and let's put the width to double.infinity, which is all the width of the screen. The next thing we will do is we'll change the color, and we will use colors.white 12, just to create some sort of, you can see if I go inside profile, some sort of color different from the background. All right, so now when we click on it, we should see inside the terminal the image selected, this thing. Perfect. So this container is clickable, but nothing happened on the screen when you press on it. So let's replace this with the Inkwell widget and save. Now you will see that when you press on it, you have some sort of splash effect, which is pretty cool. So it depends of what you need. If you don't want any splash effect, then use the gesture detector. After this, inside the Inkwell, you can change the splash color for colors.teal if you prefer. And let's save. Now you see that we have some sort of teal. And I think this widget is kind of cool. So that's why I need to show you both different, the Inkwell and the gesture detector. That's about it, and I see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Okay, so all of this is pretty cool, but what we want usually inside an app is a simple classic button. And this is what we will talk about in this video. So first, for the Inkwell, I will change the container for 50 just to make it smaller. Perfect, it's still clickable. But what we'll do after this Inkwell is we will use a elevated button. Oops. Elevated button like this. We will change the onPress for an empty function. This. And then the child, what we'll put is, we will say a text. And inside the text, we will say, click me. Click me like this. And put all your commas, save and format document. There we go. There we go. So this is what you should have after. Okay, so we have a button, which is a simple elevated button. After this, what do we want is, we want to be able to change the style of any buttons. So for this, what you will need to do is you will say style, and then you will say, you will repeat the name of the widget, so elevated button, dot style from. And now you're able to change the style. So if you want to change the first color, it will either be primary or background color. So let's try with color. We have the background color. So this should work. Let's put colors.teal. Let's save. So that's cool. But we can change you can change also the color of the text by using the foreground color, probably. Foreground color, colors.white. So now you can see better the text. But you don't always need to change the style because Flutter offers like 4 different types of buttons. All right. So what we'll do is we will create another one, or I will just copy this one and I will paste it right under. So what you will need to do is I will remove the style so you can see just the button. This is a normal elevated button. This is the one we modified. After this, we can create another one under. But this one will be the filled button. So now you see the difference between the elevated and the filled button. There is another one also, which is called the text button. And this is the text button. So maybe you wonder, okay, but how do I change the style of one fill button? You do the same thing. You use the style, and then you say filled button dot style from. Like this. And then you can change the style, just like you did in this one. All right, so we'll delete this. And I want to show you one last button, which is this one. We have the outlined button. which will create some sort of outline around it. But there is also other kind of buttons. Let's talk about them right now. We have the close button, like this. Let's save. I wonder what this does. Nothing, but you can create a function inside. And I think we have the back button also, maybe. And the back button is just like this. And you can change what you do inside, the unpressed. So that's about it. That's about buttons. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, so one last widget I need to show you before we finish this module is called the drop-down button. You will see this one is pretty useful when you have a list of selectable items. I will create this one right over the text field so we can see it at the top, and it will be the drop-down button. Great. The items for this one will be a list of drop-down menu items. So we will create a list and we'll use the drop-down menu item. This one. The child will be a simple text widget, and we will call this the element 1. I will put all the commas like this. Format document, we'll put more commas, format document, and the unchanged will be an empty function. This. Great. So this is what you should have for the drop-down right now. And you can see that it has one element inside and one element is selected. So let's change this. We will copy this drop-down menu item, we will create another one, and we will call this the element 2, and let's do a third one, element 3. Element 3. Perfect. So I will restart the application, I will go in profile, and now we have some sort of problem. We will fix this right now. Inside the drop-down menu item, you will select value, and this one will be E1, and we'll create other value for drop-downs. This one, this will be E2, and this will be E3. Great. Next thing you need to do is we need to create a variable for the value of the drop-down button. This one will be a string. It will be from this one. It will be a string nullable. Right? So let's create one string nullable, and let's call this the menu item and say that we can keep this null when we start. Great. So let's copy this and put it inside. Let's save and restart the application. So now if we go inside profile, you see that we have a drop-down which have inside the element 1, element 2, and element 3. And to make them selectable, you will need to go inside the unchanged. The value will be a string like this, string question mark. So we will put the type, and inside we will say set state, and we will say that the menu item is equal to the value. So now when we click and select element 2, it's now element 2, element 3, element 1. So that's pretty cool. Another thing you can do is, you can see that right now we don't have any default value. If you want to have select element 1 selected by default, you can do it by putting this as E1, because this is the same key as this value, right? So we can restart and you will see that the element 1 is already selected. Great, so this is how you create a drop-down menu item. You have all the tools in order to create pretty much any user input inside your application at this point. So let's keep going to build a real application in the next module. That's it, see you in the next one, bye.